am honored to introduce to you our keynote speaker, Melissa Karpel. She is she's implementing change in everyday life to create a vegan world. And she has been working with PETA for almost 20 years, right after seeing their video, Meet Your Meat. Her roles have been a few. She's worked as an assistant to PETA, working directly with Ingrid Newkirk, and also as a traveling campaigner. And she's now working with PETA's top donors and to help them with their philanthropic goals for animals. So please give a warm welcome to Melissa Karpel, implementing change in everyday life to create a vegan world. Melissa Karpel, take it away.
Thank you. Thank you, Rebecca. Thank you, Dr. Rao, for having me. I've been enjoying the conference all day, and I'm honored to be here to be a part of it. Also, I had some surgery last week I'm still healing from, so I apologize for the bandage on my face, but I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. I'm going to stop my video just temporarily while I do the slideshow, and hopefully we get everything technically working. So let me hold on one sec. All right. So do let me know if you can see my screen. Excellent. Okay.
You see the side view. There we go. Now it looks perfect.
Okay. Great. All right. So yes, thank you for the introduction, Rebecca. My name is Melissa, and I am a philanthropic specialist with the PETA Foundation. This is my dog, Harvey, and he wants to say hello as well. If you can...
Your camera's off for some reason, Melissa. Let's see.
Well, he's barking, so I thought maybe you had heard him. He just kind of barking at the door.
I thought we were going to look at him.
You'll see a picture of him in a bit, though. Yeah.
Okay.
And yes, as Rebecca said, I began working for PETA in 2007 as Ingrid Newkirk's assistant, and she's our co-founder and president. I learned a lot working under her. She is a force. For those of you that don't know her, she is still going strong in her mid-70s, leading the organization and speaking everywhere. So I did learn a lot working under her. So that was fantastic. And then I moved on to being a campaigner, where I traveled the world doing different sorts of media for the public, speaking on all animal rights areas. I led demonstrations. I went to Pamplona, Spain to protest the running of the bulls. And as mentioned, I did appear on a reality show called 30 Days. It was by Morgan Spurlock. It was the reality show of days gone by before they were very popular. And I had quite an experience. I'll get into that a little bit later as it relates to a little bit on what we will be talking about. And yes, now I work in development. I work with donors, helping people help animals through their philanthropic support. And I since have moved from Los Angeles to the woods of Western Wisconsin. And I live here with my partner, our dog Harvey, who you might have heard and might hear again, our 7 cats, who we all found them from outside as strays, and 15 chickens, and who I rescued from an egg farm. And that has been such a joy to get to know these birds. I had never really spent time outside of an animal sanctuary, meeting them briefly. I had not gotten to know chickens before, who, as we know, arguably are some of the most abused animals on the planet, just by the numbers and what they go through for not only their flesh, but their eggs. And I had the great joy of being able to rescue 15 of these beings and watch them transform from being held in a shed with no sunlight, no fresh air, the very basics, horrendous conditions, as you all know of, and watching them transform by getting sunlight for the first time, letting them on the grass. They go looking up at the sky. The color of their faces completely changed. When we got them, they were sheet white, and their feathers were missing, and now they are just beautiful. And they are a joy in my life. And I also was able to rescue recently a rooster named Long Jack, who's there in the corner. He is the king of the castle now. He was one of those listed for free on Facebook because he was not fertile, and who knows what was going to happen to him. So he is the leader of the pack here, enjoying his life with his group of rescued ladies. So that's where I am right now. I also, with the beauty of living out here in nature, I am living amongst all of everything that I've seen in videos all my life as an activist. And I am seeing and hearing, smelling all of it now in person as far as animal factory farming. Unfortunately, we are in a very rural area that has a lot of farms raising animals for meat and for their milk and eggs, and pig farms, cow farms. And so it's really been an interesting journey for me in my activism that I live amongst all of that right now. And these people are my neighbors. And I'll get into a little bit about that later too, how that's affected me and also my outlook on activism. So yeah, I've been vegan for about 20 years now and an activist for 20 years. And I am happy to share here some of my and PETA's tips for everyday activism. And I know a lot of you are already in the movement and active in your own ways. But I hope that no matter where you are in your vegan and activism journey, that you can find something useful, because there really is something for everyone. And I can, imagine that you all can have some tips to share with me that maybe we can talk about if we have some time at the end too. If you're a little bit shy or anxious, not to worry, because as we know, there are tons of things that you can do from your home too. And I'll talk about that in a bit as well. So whether you're a person who likes to go in the streets or you're someone who likes to be a keyboard activist, we all can contribute to animal liberation. And so you all know that the very best thing that you can do for animals, the most impactful thing, is to be vegan. That's what we're talking about here today. And you can save up to 200 animal lives every year simply by not eating them. And so if you do the math through that, you know that there's something even more important that you can do with your veganism, and not just be eating yourself a vegan diet, but that you can be an effective advocate, encouraging other people to follow your example. So let's start off in the bigger, bolder, out there on the streets sort of activism that exists. So protesting and leafleting, that's something that if you enjoy being in the mix, being out on the streets, having conversations with people, it can be a very effective way of getting the message out. You can meet some like-minded friends, have, flex your muscles with conversations with others. And if you are interested in getting to know people, getting to see what's happening in your area, PETA has an activist network that you can sign up with, and will send you directly emails or texts with events coming up in your area, so that you can stay up to date with what's going on. Or also, if you would like, you can organize protests yourself, and we supply all the materials and help you organize it right on spot for yourself. So you don't have to be living near other people who are or a protest that's already being organized in your area. So PETA also has lots of videos, easy steps, instructions on how to be the best activist that you can be. These videos are short, they're to the point, and they just give some really good tips that we over the years have learned are as helpful as possible for you to have a good experience and for everybody else to have a good experience as well. So the resources are out there to be able to get out on the streets and get out of your comfort zone and be able to advocate for animals. Another really good thing that you can do that also is putting yourself, out in public, is to get involved in local politics. And so we are all represented on councils and in Congress. So we have to make our reps work for us. Calling, emailing, or meeting with your local politicians is a great way to advocate, because they want to hear from their constituents, and putting an animal rights issue in their minds is the best thing that you can do and should be happening in all areas. So this can be especially effective at the city council level. And there's already a lot of momentum in a lot of areas for mandatory spay and neuter ordinances, for example, dog tethering bans, stopping deer hunts, circus bans. And so if you can talk to your representative about possibly introducing bills or supporting bills, that is something that really can get the momentum going and is bringing as many people as you can to lobby along with you. And so if you wanted to sign up to speak during one of your council meetings, that's something that I've done as well. And it's something that is also a great way to flex your muscles. You only have a few minutes, but so less is more on that. And, I know it's not exactly comfortable, but that is the system that we have the right to be able to go there and speak our mind. And so the council is usually very appreciative, knowing that you probably represent many thousands of other constituents as well. So the more you do this, the easier it does get. Another great way to reach a lot of minds and young minds who are open to this message because of their just natural born compassion that we all have is going to speak at schools. And I've done this before as well, and I've always had good experiences. PETA actually has a program called Teach Kind, which provides different schools with free educational materials. And so you can even host a classroom presentation on any animal rights issue you would like. So that could be about maybe getting a school district. You can talk to them about banning field trips to the circus or zoos, or if you just want to get information to kids about vegan eating and maybe help their cafeteria have some more vegan options. I was a guest speaker at my sister-in-law's school. She's an eighth grade teacher. And I had the opportunity to speak with them and introduce the ideas of veganism to a lot of children who had never even been exposed to that before. It was a very gentle message. I didn't share any graphic images. I didn't really get into it. I talked about the transformation of my chickens and how, what they were their living conditions before and how much they changed. And that was a good, example of how the animals are not living well in factory farming conditions. And like I said, I had to be very careful with my language as we are in schools for younger people. But the message comes across. And sometimes the best way to do that is through vegan food itself. So I brought to her cooking class, which was the next period, the same students there, I brought vegan cheese. We made vegan pizza, and I brought some vegan chicken nuggets for them to taste. And it was the first time a lot of those kids had been exposed to vegan food at all. And just showing them it exists, showing them it's delicious and easy to get. And so that was a really great thing to be able to talk about with the kids. So for Teach Kind, if you are a teacher, anybody who is an animal-friendly teacher who'd like to bring any of that curriculum into their classroom, it's all free, it's available. And like I said, it's a gentle message with compassion, empathy for children, and kind of tying in all of that into what they can do in their daily lives for animals. So the most important thing is just to know that it's not comfortable for a lot of us to put ourselves out there. And so effective activism sometimes involves getting outside of your comfort zone and interacting with people who don't already agree with you. It's a good exercise in not worrying about getting, people angry or offended or, nasty, and just stay calm and advocate so that people who are listening can hear what you have to say. And of course, you'll feel better if you are prepared with all of the knowledge and all of the background information that you want to share. If you do enjoy public speaking, I know some people do Toastmasters, and they will use their speeches for animal rights content. And so it's a great way to use your platform to be able to talk about animals, and people will be listening, to your speech and be able to get information out in that way as well. So you may surprise yourself and realize it's easier than you think. And the biggest thing that I've learned is to just try to be yourself, because that is the most relatable and most influential version of you. So if you are a little more wanting to stay home and, oh, that's not the right slide. That's right. But there's more armchair activism that you can do. You can be a keyboard warrior and an armchair activist, and there's plenty of things that you can do in your daily life that are still quite effective with spreading the message of veganism. Something as simple as language. As we all know, language is very important and can portray a huge array of messages behind just some very simple words. And so it may sound obvious, but we have to set an example with our own language. And I make it a point to never be caught calling animals an it or a that, but rather a he or a she, or use the language who. So if we talk about animals as toasters or sofas, it could be hard to convince people around us that they are sentient beings deserving of respect and care. And so it may sound trivial, but it really isn't. And it makes people think and will stop implying any inferiority. And it's just habit, it's not like you need an it jar with putting a quarter in every time, although if you want to, that could help. But it's just something to kind of, as we do in society in lots of other ways, think about language and making that small little change. So rather than saying it for a dog, you can say he or she. And then even further on that point, so PETA has suggested some updated language in some well-known sayings. You might have heard of killing two birds with one stone. So instead, we say feeding two birds with one scone. And there's lots of other examples. And maybe you can even come up with some on your own because it's kind of fun. There's someone like instead of putting a feather in your cap, you can put a flower in your cap. And this seems to be taking on in the public. I've heard just yesterday there was a non-animal rights, non-animal at all related podcast. And they said something like, I was going to say, I don't want to beat a dead horse. And then I was like, that's mean. I don't want to say that about horses. And I remember that PETA put out a list of alternatives. So you can say, it was like a bird in the hand, or it was worth that in the bush or something. And they said, no, hold on. Okay. It's kill two birds with one stone. Rather than that, feed two birds with one scone. And so instead of saying to beat a dead horse, you want to say you want to feed a fed horse. So these are, like I said, little tiny things that we can do, which it's not that much effort, doesn't hurt anybody, and it really just kind of helps reframe through language our views. So if you are a keyboard warrior, there are plenty of opportunities that you can use your writing skills. We need that so badly to advocate for animals and blast the vegan message out. Letters to editors are a great way to be able to voice your opinion. Leaving comments on articles with links to more resources, very efficient. People read comments all the time and will click on a link if you have for more information for the right information there on animals. And then also, you can write to your local constituents rather than going there in person or calling them. You can write letters to them, which is also very powerful for supporting animal-friendly legislation. And just know that there are the resources out there for any area of animal rights you'd like to speak on. And you don't even have to speak to someone directly. You can let materials, leaflets, pamphlets speak for you. We have stickers and pamphlets and leaflets and posters if you want to there's lawn signs if you want to put something in your front yard. There are a ton of materials, and it's kind of something nice to be able to remember to have some in your purse or your bag at any point, because you don't have to be standing on the street corner passing them out if you don't want to. You can leave them for people to find and to read on their own in waiting rooms, in bathrooms, little libraries. Those are everywhere. Any place that you think someone might want to pick up this pamphlet and get the message, in the seat pocket of a plane or a train or a bus. And I've heard of one of my colleagues at PETA who has a stack of leaflets next to her front door. And if somebody comes soliciting with a message, a religious message or any message, and knocking on their door with their information, she'll say to them, okay, I will take your pamphlet, but you have to take one of mine. So that's a good way to make sure to also, I don't think anyone's ever said no to that, because it kind of catches them off guard, and then they walk away with a bunch of vegan recipes that, who knows, they might want to try. Also, bumper stickers. Those are a great way to blast the message out without you having to do anything. My mom actually has a bumper sticker on her car that says Earthlings.com, which, for those of you who don't know, Earthlings is a full-length documentary narrated by Joaquin Phoenix, and it shows every area in which animals are abused in undercover footage. And it is devastating and will change your life. And if you can get someone to watch that, that is very impactful. And so my mom, she had it made. She had it, I don't think she had it designed just on a website. And, hopefully as she drives around Oregon, people are seeing that bumper sticker, wondering what Earthlings.com is, looking it up, and hopefully watching that movie and changing their lives for the better. Another great way to, going back, we have vegan starter kit stands, and these are everywhere, all over the country, and, with free vegan starter kits. And so that is something else that we do. We can have, if you were interested in having one in your neighborhood and maintaining one, we can talk about that. If you want to stock them, they always need stocking, and because people do take these, people do like free stuff. And so you might as well have something out there that will benefit the animals greatly. And the vegan starter kit is, it's very upbeat. It has recipes. It has lots of quotes from celebrities. It has some graphic photos, but for the most part, it's mostly very upbeat with the positive side of eating a vegan diet. So it seems to resonate very well with people who are pre-vegans. Merch. This is also another great way to let your clothing speak for you, and you don't even have to say a word. There are tons of beautiful and eye-catching t-shirts from both PETA, other organizations, or even independent designers and stores. And they can be a gentle conversation starter. One quick story is my sister, my whole family was on a vacation, and my mom was wearing a vegan t-shirt, and another woman came up to her and said, "Oh, I'm vegan too. I've been vegan my whole life. And I have a vegan son who was born, I raised him since he was born vegan, and he's right over there." And my mom was like, "Oh, wow, like come meet my daughter." Go 20 years past that, and they are now married with 2 vegan boys themselves. And so this t-shirt started the conversation between the 2 moms who introduced their children, who then got married and are continuing the vegan line with their 2 boys. So you never know who you're going to meet when you're wearing a t-shirt. And it could be that, no one says anything, but you still are making an impact as you pass by someone. That might be the change that they see, and go ahead and research something on their own at home and change their life as well. So there's lots of other little things that you can do here, and just get creative. If you're a runner, we have the PETA Pack, which you can run different marathons, different races, and raise money for any area of animal rights, against the Iditarod, you can against SeaWorld, to go promote veganism. And it's a great way to use what your skill is, because that's what it really comes down to, is using what you have, what you're comfortable with, and in the mode that really resonates with you. There's lots of other little tiny things you can do. I know some people who change their Wi-Fi password, the discoverable Wi-Fi password that comes up when someone else's phone, is looking at all the I'm sorry, not password, the Wi-Fi name. So it comes up discoverable in other people's phones. So they'll change their Wi-Fi name to Go Vegan or SeaWorld Hurts or something to be able to, just get that message out and make people think for a moment. When I'm in the market, if I'm buying some vegan cheese, I might say to the checker, "Oh, have you tried this before? It's really good. It melts just like cheese. It's delicious. I make pizza. I make pasta with it." And then whoever's in earshot gets to, kind of, curious, what is that? They'll get a little curious and look and see what product that is. And all in very positive conversations. Or you can put a big sticker on your suitcase. That's Ingrid's suitcase, and she travels all over. So that message goes along with her everywhere. And as we know, that the most powerful message can be through vegan food itself. And so, if you're going to a potluck at work, or if you bring some treats to your neighbors or your vet's office, or maybe somebody's doing some work in your home and you want to make them some cookies, or store-bought, there's some delicious vegan cookies that are easy to get in the markets too. Just make sure you tell them it's vegan and introduce them to the fact that there is delicious vegan food on the market that is easy to get. And that's where we are right now. So let everybody know, and, the hearts are gotten through people's stomachs. So vegan food speaks very powerfully. Something that we all really are responsible for is being that person. If you see something, you have to say something. I think in some ways human nature is, there's got to be somebody else that's going to do this, or make that phone call, or, look into this, or inquire about this dog. And it has to be us. I mean, if you see any act of cruelty and can prevent it on the spot, you have to do so. And don't assume that somebody else will step in, because that someone is you. PETA does have a 24-hour national hotline if you end up seeing any sort of animal cruelty, or if you see an animal mired in a glue trap, that is an emergency too. And if you need help, obviously first call the authorities if it is and keep yourself and the animal out of danger in the best way you can, but stay on the scene if you can too. And like I said, PETA has a 24-hour phone hotline that you can call, reach somebody live. What it is, it's our PETA staff. We have a team who does this full time, but then we also volunteer as staff members ourselves to have this pager that 24 hours a day is monitored. And we get calls all the time. I mean, you get a call for every shift, at least, you get a lot of them depending on the area. So what it is that we'll talk you through finding whether it is a rehabber you need for a baby animal who's in danger, or working with the authorities to make sure that they show up on the scene if there is an animal in danger. But we're here to help, and just know that it has to be us if we come across any sort of animal who needs help. Now, whether you're leafleting or protesting on the streets, or even if you're just attending a family function, a work event, a friend get together, with anybody who is not yet vegan, you might engage in a discussion on animals, veganism, and your values. So when you do have that conversation, there are some helpful tips and reminders that can help make it as effective for the animals as possible. And I don't mean to imply that there's only one way to deal with all people. Obviously, not all situations will be the same. Some of your interactions will be a one-time and super quick, and so you'd want to get your strongest moral or argument right away. Or with a friend or a loved one, you can have discussions over time. Having materials with you is always great, leaflets, and being able to back up what you're saying. So there's just a few tips that I found helpful when I've dealt with people who have different viewpoints that I do, and I am trying to engage them in a conversation about animal rights or veganism. And the first is find common ground. That's something that I think really helps people open up to start off the conversation so they don't shut down and, not listen to a word you say. You can say something like, I've always loved animals like you. And like you, I ate their flesh, drank their milk, wore their skins until I realized that what I was doing every day was harming them. And I know some of us were born vegan, but many of us were not. And despite what we were exposed to in the media and from our families and schools and mentors about the normalcy of eating animals, we broke through that. And so can the person who you're speaking with. I'll say, stuff like, I love cheese. I love ice cream. I eat it all the time. But mine is made from soy and cashews and almonds and coconuts. And here's why. I used to live in Los Angeles, as I mentioned before, and amongst many like-minded friends, like-minded people. Then I moved to Norfolk, Virginia, which is the headquarters for PETA. Now we're kind of spread out all over the country. A lot of us work remotely, but at that time we were all in the headquarters in Norfolk, Virginia, in this big, beautiful building on the Elizabeth River. And all of us were vegan. So it was like vegan camp. And so it was like preaching to the choir for all of my friends and everybody who I worked with. And the potlucks were incredible, as you can imagine. We had some great food. But it wasn't really until I moved out here into Western Wisconsin that I had to have conversations with and live amongst people who thought very differently from me. And as I had mentioned, I live amongst the cornfields, the soybean fields, and farms where they raise cows for meat and for dairy, and a pig farm and chicken farms for eggs and for meat. And it has been a very interesting part of my activism journey to be amongst all of this. And not only that, but also to have to immerse myself in a community where they have been raising animals for their flesh and for their dairy for their entire lives, and their families before that have, and all of that. They are deeply ingrained in that culture here, which I obviously vehemently oppose. And when I came here, everybody kind of knew it was a little buzz in town, like, oh, the PETA girl's here, and, and this and that. And so I think that everybody on all ends had a lot of stereotypes that needed to be broken through. But as I said, I vehemently oppose what most of my neighbors do here, but I do live amongst them, and I have to forge relationships with them. There was a hunting contest for photos, a hunting photo contest in the local paper a few years ago, saying, send in your trophies of murdered animals, trophy photos. And I decided to make my own hunting photo of me hunting carrots in my garden. And I sent that picture into the paper with a caption about being a vegan hunter. And I got some great response from it. I wasn't trying to make light of anything. I was just genuinely saying that you don't have to kill animals in order to forage and have food. And so my neighbor, who is a big hunter, called me, and I was like, oh, here we go. Okay. But he thought it was great. He really appreciated my kind of sense of humor about it, and also that I went out of my comfort zone to submit something like that. And it started a genuine conversation. So that was kind of, finding the common ground here with my neighbors and all of that. And I'll get into a little bit more on this when I talk about the reality show in just a few minutes here. But another way to have the start of a productive conversation with someone who has very different views from you could be to ask them questions. And I like to ask people about their animals. A lot of times these people live with companion animals and know them very well and love them, and they understand their complex emotions and their need for comfort. their feelings. They have the ability to be scared and hurt. But amazingly, as we know, every animal has that capability, not just dogs and cats, and not just the ones who we know. So that seems like a very good launching pad to have a conversation with somebody talking about their companion animals, because they immediately will understand the emotional capacity of their animals. And you can lead that into how chickens and calves and pigs and fish, all animals have the ability to have this emotional capacity and deserve to live a life of their own, of freedom, and in forging their own family, and living a natural life. So that can be a good way to start a positive conversation. And also was touched on earlier in this conference too, about how sometimes it can be overwhelming when you talk about the billions of animals who are killed every year for their flesh. And instead, if you can paint the picture of one animal, that sometimes really helps people relate to who might be on their plate. It personifies and helps to really have somebody visualize the plight of the animals. And so going back to words, as we know, words are so important. So you have to choose your words carefully and use descriptive and accurate accounting language in any way that you can. So, this is a strong example here of, what you might say, what happens to animals is really horrible. And yes, it is, absolutely. But that doesn't paint a picture for someone. And if you only have that short conversation with somebody and you want to really have everything that you say be as impactful as possible for the animals, you might want to paint more of a picture with your words. Something like live chickens are hung upside down by their broken legs in metal shackles, and many of them have their throats slit while still fully conscious. Some even are boiled alive in scalding hot feather removal tanks. I mean, that's a mouthful, yes, but it's something to that effect, of that being able to paint a picture to really accurately describe what these animals go through. So like I said, you might only have the opportunity to, have a few exchanged words with someone. And so you really want to make them count. And so that is one other way to do that. And then also, remain calm. When I first made the connection of how much I had empathy, compassion, and love for animals with what I was doing every day to harm them, I was raging. I was a very angry vegan when I first went vegan and first became an activist. I know that we all go through our the peaks and valleys of, our own journeys. And for me, I was really just angry, and I was ready to debate with anybody and everybody, but I don't think I was very effective in the beginning. And I learned very quickly that I had to take my passion and use it wisely, not only for my own sake, because I was going to burn out and burn bridges very quickly, but of course for the animals. Nobody really wanted to talk to me, and let alone listen to me about going vegan in that state. And it was not sustainable for me. So I learned that instead of angrily debating people and shutting them down, I needed to see myself as helping people see the animal's viewpoint. And, we're not trying to win arguments here for argument's sake. We are saying what we're saying because we know that we are right and it is just. And opening people's hearts and minds to what's happening to the animals is the best way to end the suffering. So how we interact with people is at least as important as what we say when we interact with them. And it's something that really it took time for me. And as I had mentioned before, I had the opportunity to be on this reality show called 30 Days, where the premise, they had different episodes where people, the premise was that you have somebody coming into a home of somebody else who have completely different viewpoints for 30 days, and cameras get it all. And so when I was preparing for this show, I didn't know who was going to be living with me and my family. as far as I didn't know what they did to be so different from me, a vegan and an animal activist. I was thinking, are they a vivisector? Do they work in a slaughterhouse? Do they raise minks for fur coats? I didn't know. So it was pretty stressful because I didn't know how to prepare. So I knew that everything I said and did would be on camera and also at the mercy of the editors. As we know, editing a reality show can really put somebody in positive light or negative light, depending on how they want it to go. So it turned out the gentleman who came to stay with us for 30 days, George, who's there in the slide, was a hunter from North Carolina. And so I, of course, was ready to hate him as soon as he stepped foot in the house. But I knew that this was going to be a full month of us interacting. And I had to come up with all the activities for him with going to protests, going and advocating and getting signatures for a proposition that was happening at that time for farm animals. Just living in our house, having vegan food and, advocating every single day. He ended up volunteering at a local animal sanctuary and met a calf named Sugar, who was rescued on camera with him and the crew from a dairy. And Sugar was in really bad state. They brought him back to the sanctuary in the cover of night. And George was tasked with bringing Sugar back to health. And as I talked about earlier, it was the effect of that one animal who really spoke the loudest to him. By seeing Sugar and understanding what Sugar went through by being born into a dairy where he was ripped from his mother upon birth, he got to understand the dairy industry through Sugar. And it was a really powerful show. I also got to know George very well. We are friends to this day. We still don't agree on a lot of our principles, but we went through that together. And at the end of the show, he said the words, I guess you can consider myself an animal activist now. So he had a huge transformation. It's a great show. This was back, like I said, in the early days of the reality shows. I don't know if you can just look on YouTube. It's not really officially up anywhere, but there is like a bootleg version on YouTube. Sorry, I don't mean to promote that, but if you want to find it, it is available online. And it really is interesting to see George's journey. So for me, I had to stay calm. I had to stay confident. I had to prepare the best I could for the animals, and definitely get out of my comfort zone. My family was not exactly on board in the beginning either. My parents, everybody is vegan in my family, but they were a little nervous having camera crews in our house, and it worked out very well. And it was a lesson for me as well with interacting very deeply with somebody who feels very different than I do. And I, work professionally to stop what he's doing. And so we had very fruitful conversations, luckily. So, as you go on your journey with activism, just know you are not alone. There are tons of resources. There's videos and books and online features and leaflets and mentors. And Ingrid has a great book called PETA's Practical Guide to Animal Rights. And as I mentioned earlier, you can go sign up for our activist network and get announcements of local protests or gatherings in your area. We also have a texting program that's pretty new that you can sign up and get texts about actions for animals that you can just take on right there on your phone. Or it also tells you about local actions for yourself. Excuse me. The biggest thing I think that I have learned is to try to stay positive. We are all in this movement because we are extraordinarily compassionate, empathetic, and understand the pain the animals are going through. And that is something that can easily be overwhelming. And we have access to a ton of very disturbing, a lot of footage and pictures which I am so grateful for, to be able to share that instantly with people online, opposed to back in the day when you had to write a letter to ask for a VHS tape of the investigation and PETA would mail it to you and then you have to mail it back. I mean, on a click of a button on the internet, people can see what is happening at the, right now at pyramids of Giza, where the horses and camels and donkeys are being abused everywhere, all over the world. It is being exposed. And I'm grateful for that. But as activists, we need to protect ourselves. And just for me, I don't look at things unless I have to, because I am in this for the long haul. I will always advocate for the animals. I don't want to burn out. I don't want to become hopeless and have to take care, and I just have to take care of myself so that I can continue this. PETA brings in a counselor for free sessions who is an expert in compassion fatigue, and compassion fatigue is real. It's a very real thing where you take on the trauma of what you've seen. And so we just really have to take care of ourselves, stay positive, know that we are winning. We are winning. I mean, we have come so far. In my small little town here, we have one market. It's a Piggly Wiggly and it's very small. And they have vegan cheese, they have vegan cream cheese, they have vegan creamers galore, vegan milks. I mean, this is a lot of what we have dreamed of. And I know we have a long way to go. There's a lot to do. And so we just have to stay strong, take care of ourselves, support each other, stay positive, and know that we are on the right side of history. So I encourage you to check out PETA's website for all of those resources. Please email me directly if you have any questions or want to, have a question about any of the resources that I put up here. And keep going. Animal liberation is close, and we just have to keep going, and for all animals. So thank you all for what you do. And I will stop sharing here and turn on my camera. All right, there we are.
Wow, thank you. That was wonderful. I've known a lot about PETA. I've gotten resources from them, but there's still more I learned from them. So I really appreciate it. I didn't know you had those little stands that people could put PETA information in. That's wonderful.